Alright, the next step is the mounting bracket, power beyond bracket. The directions are a little fuzzy on this point. I put this up in there and realized that this was not installed, was not in place. The female coupler, loosen that up a little bit. So, female coupler goes in the upper bracket, the one marked P for power beyond, I suppose. You gotta put that in there. Then you put this up in place. Then you can put the nuts in. These have Loctite on them already. Just putting that in your finger tight. Now you're going to have to attach something here, and this darn bracket is in the way. I think it'd be a lot better to attach the hose there before you put that bracket in. The connect coupler. Okay, so they show in this picture the quick connect coupler goes on the elbow. I'm going to go ahead and put that together because that's sort of painless. Lubricate. And the quick coupler goes on here. This little plastic cup is always difficult to get out. Make sure you don't damage the seal. Not the seal, the place where the seal rides. Nice and clean. This goes on here. Now I'm going to tighten the... No, there's no need to tighten the quick coupler yet. Just do that all finger tight. Now this has got to go on this fit in here. But that's going to be too difficult the way they have it described in here. So I'm going to take this off. Loctite's already started to work. Let's take this bracket out of here. Now, in the directions they show, this going together like this. This goes underneath the top link and attaches. So these hoses here that I have going to the back probably are going to get in the way. Nice and clean. Put a little dab of oil on there. Dab of oil. Oil leakage. It goes back up any old way. Alright, so let's put this on. So the directions show the hose looping around this top link bracket. They just cleverly left off the filler that's going to be right in the way of this nicely looping around. Loop it back underneath there, I suppose. Now it's going to rub. I have to make sure when I tighten that I position it just right. Alright. Now this has to be tightened. The question is, will it fit? Will it reach? It's got to go back up into this top link. Before I tighten that down, I better check. This has got to go here. Like this. This has got to go here. Alright, so that's coupled together. I have to put it like that. That looks like it'll fit. So it's got to go inside of this filler neck. Pull this apart. Get this out of the way. Snug that down right there. I think that'll fit on there. Once again, this is 51 foot-pounds of torque. Make sure this doesn't slip up out of there too far. I'm squeezing these two crescent wrenches together. Alright. Now on these O-ring hydraulic fittings, it's important to get them snug, of course, but you don't want to over-tighten them. If you don't get them tight enough, they'll leak a little bit. You can come back and tighten them up. Alright, so now we'll put this in here. This is already tightened. Okay, that's snug. Now it wants me to put the second snap ring on here. Then I'll have to tighten this down. Alright, got that on now. Push it in place. Alright, it's snapped in. Bracket's tight. This needs to be tightened. So we'll put the 1 1/4 on the inside. And this size here, 1 7/16 on the nut. So I'll get down to 50 foot-pounds, 51. Okay, so that is pretty much the installation. I have to tighten these two fittings down, put that back together. Alright, this is how it will be normally, unless you're using it. When you use it, you uncouple this, and this fitting, the hose hooks into your device, and another hose comes back and hooks into that, allowing you to circulate hydraulic fluid. So let's snug these down. Start with a hose. 1 16 is too small. 1/4 is too big. So I guess we'll use crescent wrenches. Okay, the male quick coupler, 1 16. Fitting behind it is 15/16. I'm going to bring this male quick coupler down a little bit. Tighten it up just a little bit. So again, make sure we leave room in here to tighten the slip knot. Good way to do a controlled tightening to rearrange your wrenches so they can get pretty close to being lined up like that. Ideally it would be about like that so you can grab it, but this one's not going to cooperate. So I've got to push on one wrench and then the other. This way I can snug them. That's plenty tight. Alright, now get all my, let's see where this will go now. I do not pay attention to which is which here, so I'm probably getting these backwards. Alright, so now I just got to clean off all my oil, make sure there's no oil visible, so I'll know it's leaking. To get the air worked out of this, I will start up the tractor and I'll run this on the grapple on the front. I'll run that a few times to get the air worked out. Alright, I cycled the hydraulics. Let's see if we find any leaks here. No leaks really. Okay. Now I'll have to monitor that, make sure it doesn't have any leaks in it, and we're good to go. This thing leaks. I got oil coming out of it. I've got to snug this down. All right, to recap. The directions are a little misleading. But the first thing you do is you take the Power Beyond plug out. Where'd that go? Right here. Power Beyond plug. Takes 14 millimeter. Then you put in the Power Beyond coupler. It's a two-step coupler with O-rings on it. Then depending on your, whether you have a double or a triple, you put in the short for the triple, the long one for the long elbow for the double. Put that in finger tight. That's what the directions say, but then it says to put this quick coupler on here while it's up on the tractor. I unhooked it. It was already only finger tight. I unhooked it, took this, put the quick coupler on the bench, tighten it down to spec, put it back in. So then it wants you to fasten this bracket in place. And while I was doing that, I noticed there was a fitting here that hadn't been put on yet. And then after the bracket's in place, they want you to put the hose in place. So I just took the bracket back off, put the hose in place, snug that down to spec, then put the bracket in place, put your snap ring on. And while it was on the workbench, I had put the male coupler on the end of the hose. Once I had it all put together, I snugged everything down, I snugged this down, snugged these fittings down. This fitting here was already tight, and the coupler in here was already tight. And that's pretty much it. If the directions were a little bit neater, it would go together quite a bit faster. I'm ready to hook up something else.